Hey, hello everyone. I've got a few people joining at the minute, so we'll just give it a couple of seconds for people to join in, and then we'll get underway. So give us a couple of seconds. You can see the numbers going up, so should be wait until it stabilizes a bit, and then we'll get underway. Okay. That looks pretty good. So yeah, hi everyone. My name is Andrew Levey. I'm heading up the product marketing for Deepcrawl. So thank you for joining us today for this deep dive webinar into our new Monitor Hub that we launched just a couple of weeks ago. Got a couple of colleagues with me here today. Firstly, I've got Matt Ford, who's our product manager for Monitor Hub. So he's been working closely with our beta participants over the past few months to build out that core functionality that you're going to see today. We've also got Dave Brown with us, who's our Director of Solution Engineering. And so he's been demoing Monitor Hub for some customers and prospects in recent weeks. And he's going to give us a brief demo later on in this session. So I'll bring them in shortly, but just a couple of brief housekeeping points to cover before we get started. First of all, at the bottom of the Zoom screen, you should hopefully see a Q&A box. If you do have any questions as we go through the content, please do type them into that box so we can make sure everything's captured in the same place. We've got some time allocated for questions at the end of the session, so we'll aim to cover as many as we can then. If there are any that we don't get time for, or if we need to get some more information from you to be able to answer them fully, then we'll obviously follow up with you after the webinar in the next couple of days. There will also be a short survey at the end of the webinar. It should take you less than a minute to complete. So please do fill that in, as all of your feedback really helps us make improvements to these sessions and also define what our future webinar program will look like. And finally, we are also recording the webinar. So we'll share that with you in a few days so you can review at a later date or maybe even share with some colleagues who couldn't attend today. So with the housekeeping out of the way, let's take a quick look at the agenda. So first of all, we're going to have a look at what we heard from our customers and the market in terms of some of the key challenges that come with managing multiple domains or very large sites, essentially those pain points that really led us to develop Monitor Hub that we're going to take a look at today. We'll then give you a quick introduction to the new hub, talk through where it sits in the Deepcrawl platform, and then Dave is going to take us through a demo so that you can see it in action and talk through some of the considerations around the types of dashboards that you can create in Monitor Hub. And then finally, Matt's going to take us through some of the feedback from the beta participants, a couple of short case study elements, and also then talk through some of the upcoming developments that we've got planned for Monitor Hub. So Matt, let's kick things off with you. Can you maybe talk us through those challenges and the pain points that we were hearing that led us to develop Monitor Hub?
Yeah, sure. So we've been working with our customers for years now and listening to their pain points and their challenges. And one's been sticking out quite a lot for the last few years, which is that it's hard enough looking after one small site. But what if you have either lots of sites to manage, or you have one really big one that you have to understand everything that's going on all the time? And the other thing to bear in mind is that with modern websites, they're complex and there are loads of different teams working on them and touching them all at the same time. And it's really difficult to keep track of all of the different changes that are being made. So for multi-domain brands, like if you own a load of different domains, or maybe you're a holding company for a load of different brands, then quickly identifying issues across these multiple sites can be a challenge. Likewise, if you're an SEO agency and you look after a load of your own clients and you have to keep abreast of all of the changes that are happening, it can be quite difficult. And then if you're a large website, or you're a kind of international brand that has multi-regional instances across different countries, it can be quite challenging to just manage all of the sections of this kind of unwieldy site and keeping on top of all the changes that are happening. So generally people are resorting to manually downloading data, constantly manipulating in Excel, or using other tools to do the same kind of thing. And the bottom line is that essentially it's really, really difficult to keep on top of all the changes that are happening. But as the SEO, you are where the finger gets pointed, because you're accountable for anything that impacts the organic performance of a site, whether you're aware of it or not. So to kind of underscore that point, when we were doing our kind of initial research into developing Monitor, these are the kind of things we heard. So having 50 different teams working on one site, and 2 full development teams working on the homepage alone. So it's kind of impossible to keep up with all the changes that are happening. Multiple releases per day. Another, with such a large site and many important parts of that site, things can go unnoticed for weeks if you're not careful. And we can kind of just stumble across these critical issues that, just because of the sheer scale of trying to manage these many sites or such a large site, it's just really difficult to keep on top of these metrics. Also, when there's a lot of revenue at stake, you can't really afford to miss these critical errors. And in a similar vein, if you are in a kind of global multinational company and could be in a global role, you don't have time to check all of the different markets. Or likewise, if you're in a small team, you're maybe a 1-person band, or there's only 2 of you in your SEO team, but you have potentially 20, 50 different markets. You just don't have time to check every single market in the detail that you need to, which really leaves yourself open to having these kind of issues that can affect revenue. So that's where Monitor Hub is coming in. It's been designed to address this problem. So to give visibility, quick and easy visibility into multiple websites at once, or multiple sections of a website at a time. So just with a kind of glance at the full platform of Deepcrawl, the Deepcrawl platform is kind of designed to give you the right amount of detail at the right time, in the right place when you want it. So starting with our kind of BI connector, we've got the ability to plug into your business intelligence tools and pull the data into where you want it. Then we've got Automation Hub, which helps protect against issues from being deployed onto a site by pre-release testing. Then we've got Analytics Hub, which is very detail oriented. We've got 250 plus metrics that are great if you're diagnosing issues. And Monitor is designed to sit one level above this. So giving you a kind of bird's eye view of the issues, maybe a few key vital signs that you want to keep track of, so that you can monitor whether those are okay before having to dive into the details. So thinking about an SEO's approach to working on a site with Deepcrawl, we've got this graph which shows issues to fix or stuff to fix on the one axis, and then time on the second axis. So often people that are starting to use Deepcrawl, they're often crawling for the first time. So they start off with one big crawl, discovering their whole site, often discovering pages they didn't know existed, and all of the various issues that exist on their website. And they compile a big list, and then they prioritize that list. And over time, they fix all of those different issues. So this kind of tails off as time goes on. So this is really the site audit stage, right? So you're identifying all of the issues that need fixing, and then you're slowly one by one going through and fixing them all. Then the next stage of this is this tail end, where this can be the many years after you've done your initial site audit, is keeping on top of that new stuff that needs fixing. There will always be new issues that occur as a result of these many people working on complex websites. So it could be, we've heard all sorts from adding no index tags to a template, a page template, which then accidentally gets added, like distributed across the whole website, and suddenly you're seeing your your pages falling out of the index, just because there is an engineer that doesn't have an awareness of SEO. So there are always these things that crop up. So this is technical health monitoring. And then we've got pre-release testing. So this is preventing things from needing to be fixed. So this tail end should be gradually decreasing as the number of things to fix goes down over time. In an ideal world, it would go down to 0, but realistically, there's always going to be something that goes wrong somewhere. So the site audit section is the detailed diagnosis, right? This is where Analytics Hub is really strong in helping identify all of those issues. And the pre-release testing is where Automation Hub fits in to help do those tests before you actually implement stuff. And now Monitor Hub combined with Analytics Hub is really there to give you that that easy visibility into your site. So monitoring that technical health in this kind of long tail section. So as I said, it's designed to be a bird's eye view of all of your sites in one place, with a focus on, firstly, time. Everybody's time is limited, especially, as I said, if you're a small team looking over loads of different sites, you want to be able to quickly spot issues across an entire portfolio. So we've, in designing Monitor, focused on scannability. So the ability to just within a matter of seconds, just quickly glance over your core metrics. Secondly, focusing on only the metrics that matter most. So cutting through the noise of detailed analytics by just designating which are the core metrics that you want to see, rather than having to kind of wade through all of the 250 metrics that we provide, just showing you the ones that you want to see at one time. And then providing context. So seeing those trends and helping to prove investment cases. So already with our beta program, we've had examples of developers that don't believe an issue is an issue. And all it's taken has been a link to Monitor Hub to show the trend line and be like, this is a real problem. You need to go fix it. And they did then admit it was a problem. So essentially, it's a kind of single pane of glass where you can view either your sections of a site or multiple different domains. You have the ability to customize all of these dashboards. So you can choose within these columns which of the metrics you would like to see. We've got the ability to easily compare metrics and benchmarks your sites against each other or your sections of your sites against each other. And this is the part where if you wanted to do this, you would normally have to download all of this data and merge it all together in one giant spreadsheet to be able to give this view. But within a couple of clicks, you can generate a benchmarking view, which you can take a screenshot of and use for any kind of reporting purposes. And spotting trends, proving investment cases, using this historical context, you can understand is something part of the kind of normal fluctuation of a report for your site, or compared to the normal state of things, is this a significant anomaly that could be a significant issue that needs some attention? And then finally, going to a more proactive approach to identifying these issues or being alerted to these issues. So being able to act quickly with custom alerts. So configurable notifications, which will alert you to only the things that you want to be alerted to only when there is an issue. And these will be connected to email, Slack, and Microsoft Teams, wherever you want those to go. So enough of my spiel, and I will pass you over to Dave to do a quick demo.
Thanks, Matt. Hello, everyone. I'm going to just share my screen. I am using a second screen, so if I'm just looking off slightly to the left, that's why. I think you can see my screen. Matt, can you give me a nod, or Andrew? Yeah, okay, perfect.
Yeah, just a quick reminder that if anyone does have any questions, then please do pop them into that Q&A box as we go forwards. But yeah, Dave, take it away.
Yes, do feel free, fire away. I love questions, especially curveball ones that put me on the spot in front of many, many people. Welcome to Monitor. As Matt said, this is kind of like a single pane of glass into your web estate, whether you have multiple brands or whether it's one big international domain or CCTLDs, a group of them, or whether you're an agency and you're managing lots of different clients, and account managers or account directors need to have views into their portfolio of clients that they're partnering with. This is where you can get all of the data and insight that you want very, very quickly. So we'll start with the top here. This is the trend data for these specific websites that we're looking at. So these, in this instance, we're looking at an international brand where they have lots of different country domains. And what we're looking at specifically is the number of indexable pages. We can change this so we can look at any of the 250 different metrics that Deepcrawl has to compare them side by side very, very quickly and very, very easily. So if we wanted to look at the number of canonical pages, for example, we can change that and we can just look at those. The thing that I love the most about Monitor is actually the performance of it. Now, you saw how quickly that was to switch to canonical pages. It's actually a very impressive feat of engineering to take over, well, there's 273 reports in Deepcrawl, over 250 different metrics, and be able to instantly load that data so that you can get that speed to insight ASAP is very, very impressive, in my opinion. And so what we've done is we've made something very, very complicated, highly technical, pretty simple, as you can see from this dashboard. Now, if we're actually looking at across all of these different sites, this is global. So we're looking at lots of different regions here, which might be a bit overwhelming and a bit too much to look at. However, having said that, we can see straight away with the Mexico site that there are these quite big spikes. There are changes going on across the web estate, but this in particular, these two in particular, the number of server errors and the max fetch time has increased significantly. And this is exactly what Monitor Hub is designed to do, to enable you to spot unusual spikes or drops in what we would expect to be as kind of seen as, I don't know, normal. Whatever normal is. Now, as I mentioned, this is our global view. So we're looking at lots and lots of different regions. What you can do with Monitor is you can split these out into different dashboards. So in this case, I've split them out regionally. So if we want to look at the North America region, you'll see that we're, for this dashboard, we're looking at indexable pages. So this is unique to this dashboard. We're only looking at these three sites, the Mexican, the American, and the Canadian website. And then we're looking at these kind of core metrics here. The 6 that we've selected are relatively common ones that people look at, relatively simple metrics, looking for things like broken pages, redirects, broken redirects, all broken links, duplicates, etc. But you can customize each and every one of these. So if the metrics that you care about most are not these 6, that's totally fine. You can define that for yourself. Some of the customers in the beta trial have been setting this up so that they have, it's on a case-by-case basis, but some of them have been setting them up in a way that they'll have a dashboard specifically for performance. So some of these all of these metrics will be performance related. Others will then have content dashboards where they're looking at H1s, missing descriptions, max title length, etc., that kind of stuff. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to create a view that you want based on what you care about most. And it's really easy to spin up these dashboards. So if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to create a performance related dashboard for the North America market, what I can do is I can just clone this dashboard. I can call it example, let's say NA performance, clone that dashboard. It creates another dashboard for me immediately. And then I can go, I'm not going to do this, but I can say like max fetch time. I can say slow server response. And excuse if you can hear my dog in the background. He's doing a nice scratch of his ear, which is highly inappropriate at this moment in time. So we can have this top one as fast server response, for example, so we can see which pages are responding quickly, and then here we can have all of the slow ones, slow LCP, slow poor CLS, etc., etc. So that's spinning up dashboards. Now, once you have your view, we have to obviously build up this picture over time and get these trend data. Now, what we don't want you to necessarily do is just constantly be coming in here and monitoring the tool manually, because that actually takes away from that time-saving thing. So what Matt, his team, the developers at Deepcrawl have done, have built an alerting or notification system. So these notifications allow you to be alerted to the things that you kind of care about the most. So in this case, we've got 6 notifications for things like the number of 200 pages has dropped. The number of redirects has increased by 2, and it's gone over the, it's hit the threshold that we've set, and so forth. What we can do is go into these notifications. In terms of managing these notifications, this in-app, like a communal inbox. So when these notifications come through, you'll be able to see exactly what's gone wrong. We can click through into the actual report itself directly from Monitor. And we can get this full list of 2,909 URLs, and we can see what's gone missing, which URLs have been added to this report, and so on and so forth. So we can then start to get into the more kind of granular detail of what's going on the site. You can also mark these notifications. So because it is a communal inbox, and you might have 2, 3, 4, 10 people using Monitor, then you obviously want to, not double the workload. So we've created this working on it and archived options to mark this task as. So I click that task and that alert, and it disappeared. It didn't disappear forever. It just went into here, which is working on it. So now everyone knows that this is being worked on, it's being actioned, or once you've completed it, you can mark it as archived, and it will move into the archive notifications. In terms of setting these notifications up, relatively simple. You can create a brand new alert. You select which project you want to use. So let's use the Irish site, and we can set a warning alert or a critical alert. The difference between these will be that effectively a warning will remain in-app, whereas critical will be pushed to an email, Slack, or Teams notification. Really easy to see what the expected value of the trend or the alert, should be. So we can see we've got this threshold bar here. We've got the number of current number of 200 pages. So if we want to say, if this drops any further below 190, then we'll be alerted to it. And we can add as many new rules as you want. And you can select all of these from all of these different reports that we have here. As I mentioned, we've got the in-app notifications. At the moment, I'm just going to talk about what's live. We have email notifications. So I could send email notifications to demo@deepcrawl.com. We could also send this to Matt Ford. Sorry for giving your email out to everyone, Matt. But we can notify Matt if anything goes wrong. Or you can, this is also a group email address. So you can select who specifically will get these alerts. As I mentioned, email is live currently. Within the next, let's say, week or so, Slack notifications will be live. And then shortly after that, we'll have Teams. So within the next, let's say, 3 to 4 weeks, we'll have Slack and Teams notifications possible within the app itself. So that is pretty much it from me. I don't know if we have any questions that have come through. Feel free to raise your hand. If not, I will pass it back over to Matt.
There's not been any questions so far, so hopefully that means that everything has been crystal clear and everyone is fully aware of what we're talking about. But if, as I mentioned, if we do have any questions, please do pop them into that box and we'll cover them off at the end. But in the meantime, Matt, yeah, maybe we can come back to you and you can talk us through some of the feedback that we've had from the initial oh, actually, sorry, Dave, I think you were going to mention, you were going to talk through some of this. I said
I'd hand over back to Matt, and then I remembered actually it was my turn to talk still. So apologies for that, everyone. You have to listen to me a little bit longer. So this may be a question that some of you are thinking about, that we kind of wanted to preempt and give some guidance and give some ideas around. So when you think about the types of dashboards that you can create, as I said, there's lots of flexibility in the types of dashboards that you can create. I think the most important thing to think about is, how is your organization structured? Who needs to see what? Not everything is going to be relevant to everyone. So depending on your organization and the setup and the team structure, the structure of the websites in terms of, you know, maybe regions, maybe tiers of websites. You know, you may have 50 websites, but, you know, 10 of them are your core revenue generating ones. Maybe you want to have a different tiered system for those, for those lesser priority websites. And then the second thing to think about is how would you think about these, like, crawls, the types of issues that you want to be alerted for? Are there, you know, buckets of things like performance, indexability, content, and thinking about how you want to kind of break maybe those dashboards down. And then obviously in terms of frequency of how you want to be alerted to these issues, depending on how fast your website is changing. An e-commerce, you know, an e-commerce website with fast moving products and updates, or a publisher, a news publisher that's publishing, you know, 100 articles a day, you might want to do daily crawls a lot more frequently. However, if your website is maybe a branded website that changes once a week, once every couple of weeks, then maybe you want to think about that kind of crawling strategy to say, well, we know that typically releases will happen every, you know, second Thursday or whatever. So you can set those schedules up so that you can get those alerts as close to when a change happens as possible. So hopefully that's helpful, gives you some ideas. And of course, feel free to ask questions now or reach out to us and mull some stuff over.
Great. Thanks, Dave. We have got a couple of questions coming in now, so we'll come on to those towards the end of the session. In the meantime, Matt, yeah, let's have a look at some of the feedback that we've had and what's coming up in Monitor.
Cool. Yeah. So as a product manager it's been, to be honest, really exciting to actually get feedback from our beta testers. It's really exciting to see the thing that we've created, this issue that we've identified, and the thing that we've created to solve the problem actually working. So we've been running a beta program for the past few months, and really there's been a lot of great takeaways from it. So firstly, having a global roll-up view. So it's now really easy and simple to identify whether something's a global issue versus something that's isolated to a specific market. And likewise, having comparative views of the sections of a site means it's really easy to see which areas need improvement and which ones are doing well. You might have different sections of the site that are on different platforms that have different performance. And often it's interesting just seeing sites side by side to see just the kind of benchmark figures of if all of your different kind of regional sites are built on the same template, why does one have 1,000 more redirects than the other? Or why are the number of 200 pages on one site completely different to another when they should be the same? So having this comparative view has been really valuable in just identifying where needs attention and where's doing well. And coming back to the kind of scannability, there's the easiness of identifying stuff. One of our testers quickly spotted a spike in redirects on a part of their site that is always changing. They're constantly making adjustments to it. And they were able to identify it and react quickly. And they mentioned that they probably wouldn't have found this normally just because of the nature of how quickly this changes and where it was in the site. And another of our testers conducted an audit of all of their broken pages across 20 different sites. And they said that that entire audit took around 30% of the time it normally would, 30%. So that's so much saved time that they could then apply to other tasks or having a nice coffee. Another kind of testimonial we had, sorry, I'm just moving my Zoom things out of the way, was from Josh at fandom.com, the senior analyst, and they have hundreds of different sites. They, if you are familiar with wikis, fan wikis, they probably run all of them. And Josh said that Monitor has literally saved hours a week. He can quickly see at a glance who's been doing what and what the results have been. And it's everything that an agency or enterprise level company needs to know exactly what's going on, especially the issues that you need to be paying attention to. And the final testimonial I'll share with you is my favorite. It's from Tiffany & Co. So Tiffany & Co, huge e-commerce platform selling, well, retail and e-commerce, selling jewelry predominantly is what they're famous for. Right before Valentine's Day, so 2 weeks before Valentine's Day, they noticed that traffic and revenue wasn't increasing to the level they expected for that time of the year. And they just couldn't understand why. And through using Monitor Hub, they quickly identified that there was a big spike in non-indexable pages only on the US site. So they managed to just quickly isolate down into that US site. And then they diagnosed that issue with Analytics Hub and Search Console. And what they found was that a new team member had essentially updated the XML sitemap, and all of their product pages and store detail pages for the US site have been accidentally de-indexed. So for 2 weeks, they weren't being indexed. That's in I guess it's 2 weeks before Valentine's Day. So 4 weeks and 1 month in the run up to Valentine's Day, their product pages for the US site, which is one of their biggest markets by far, weren't being indexed. So once they identified the issue, they fixed it, and a week later, they saw a significant improvement in the performance the following week. And they mentioned that as a very small team managing 18 different sites, they would have caught it eventually, just because it was so strange what they were seeing. But they mentioned that it could have been another week or two before they actually found that problem. So if we think about how much revenue Tiffany is making from people buying each other jewelry around Valentine's Day, we multiply that by 1 or 2 weeks. It's a pretty significant revenue saving that they managed to make just through identifying this quickly and easily. So it's been great to see everybody's feedback and just the value that they've been getting while they've been testing this. So what's coming up? We've, in the last few months, essentially built Monitor from scratch, and we've built this custom alerting functionality. Now, the custom alerts, as Dave showed, is built off of a kind of manual process of creating alerts, choosing a report, and then setting a rule, so an alert threshold. So I will be alerted if Broken Pages goes over this certain amount. Now we realize that that's okay, that's good, but it could be a lot better. If you're trying to manage multiple notifications across multiple sites, and your sites are changing over time, you have to manage those thresholds so you're not getting inundated with alerts that, if anyone uses alerts on Search Console or Google Analytics, you get so many that you just ignore them. So what we're going to be focusing on next, what we're currently building, is what we're calling smart alert thresholds. So this is the ability to automate the setting and updating of those thresholds over time. So you don't have the anxiety when it comes to the end of each month of, oh, I need to go into Deepcrawl and update all of my thresholds. The platform will understand what a new threshold for your site should be based on how it is evolving, whether it is getting better, whether it is getting worse. And you'll have the option to manually accept a threshold that we're suggesting you, or you could just automatically accept them and let the platform do its work, and keep those alerts effective so that they are only showing you the things that you need to see, and you're not getting flooded with a load of noise of misconfigured notifications over time. That's what we're currently working on right now. Next up, you may have heard that we're adding health scores to the Deepcrawl platform, to Analytics Hub. So these are going to be a group of different scores which are based on different categories of different areas of SEO. So it could be an indexation score, could be a content score, a performance score, and an experience. And those all rolled up into one overall score, an indicator of your site's health. Once that data is available in the platform, we'll be bringing that into Monitor. So you will have the same type of view, the same dashboard across your different sites or your different sections of the site. And you'll be able to see the health scores and all the individual category scores for all of those sites. So again, giving you that comparative view or those quick KPIs to understand at a glance which sites are performing well and which ones need attention. Has there been a significant drop in one of your health scores, so that you can then dive a bit deeper and diagnose what that issue was, what was causing it. And then finally, segmentation is an obvious addition to Monitor. We have Segmentation Analytics Hub already, so it's the ability to designate certain groups of URLs and give them names. So say you wanted to mark all of your product pages together and see reports only about product pages. We will be building that segmentation functionality into Monitor. So at the moment, what you see in those trend lines is the totals for that site. So if we're looking at the broken pages report, that's the broken pages for all of that one site. We can get around this at the moment by setting up separate projects for the individual sections of a site. And that's a common crawl strategy that a lot of people are doing anyway. But if you have got segments set up, this is what we will be building to allow you to essentially have that custom dashboard with multiple views and choose which of the sites and which of the segments of that site you want to be visible. So you might want to create a dashboard with your core metrics, but only for the product pages or your revenue driving pages. So again, it cuts out another step in the diagnosis process. There might be sections of your site that you don't care about. Not that you don't care about, but they're not high priority if an issue exists on them, versus the high priority pages. So being able to drill a bit deeper into that segment and have a dashboard specifically for that segment. You then know if that spike is occurring and you're seeing it is something that you absolutely need to look into. These are the kind of big ticket items that we'll be focusing on. There's a load of stuff we want to do, some additional stuff to this that we will be doing in the short term. So just keep your eyes open and you'll hopefully see a lot of interesting updates.
Great, thank you, Matt. So we have got a few minutes left. We've had a couple of questions come in through the Q&A panel, and then I think we also had some through on the chat as well. So let me just flip over to the Q&A panel. A couple on here. Matt, maybe I'll come to you first for this one. Can you use Monitor Hub as a standalone product? Sorry, Matt, I think you're on mute.
Classic. Sorry about that. So at the moment, Monitor works in sync with Analytics Hub. The main purpose of that is that you don't have to crawl twice, right? We are using the data through different viewports. So Monitor is channeling that data automatically through into the dashboards. So you'll need Analytics Hub to use Monitor at the same time.
Okay, yeah, understood. And maybe Dave, I'll come to you for this one. Can I access this now in my account?
If you don't have access currently, then reach out to your CSM or the team, and we'll look into how we can get access set up. Obviously, this is a new feature, new product, so there might likely be some commercials attached to that, but that can be obviously discussed as and when, if this is something that solves a pain point and a need.
Great, thank you. And yeah, we've had a couple come in on the chat as well. So Matt, maybe I'll come to you for this one. Regarding the custom alerts, are those based on manual or scheduled crawls, or are they based on automated daily crawl checks or sections, templates, pages of the site?
Yep, good question. So Monitor pulls through all of your scheduled crawls automatically. So there's minimal setup with Monitor because anything that you've got in Analytics Hub set to an automated schedule is automatically pulled through into Monitor. So all of the notifications will be based off of those projects. So you can configure alerts based off of those projects. So really it then comes down to crawl strategy. We could set up a small crawl of a specific section of your site or specific list of pages and set that to run. It could be, I don't know, 100, 1,000 of your top pages. You could run a daily crawl on that. You could run an hourly crawl on that if you wanted to get the most up-to-date alerts for specific sections. So yes, essentially it's any crawl that you've got running on a schedule. If you're triggering crawls via the API, we can also pull that through. If it's not technically on a schedule in the settings, we can also pull that through. But yes, so we'll create those based off of these scheduled projects, and it's a case of just having a look at your crawl strategy, and we can help you set up some more regular targeted crawls if you wanted some more specific alerts.
Great, thank you. We've just got a couple of others that have come in, so maybe we'll try and just cover these very quickly. Dave, maybe I'll come to you for this one. How do you select and view the pages with issues?
So if I'm understanding the question correctly, when you spot an issue within Monitor Hub, it's very easy to see what those URLs are specifically. So in the example that we talked about with the 500 errors, you literally click on the graph. In fact, if you hover over any of those, I don't know what would you call the map, the panel, the little panel part of the trend. I just call it the trend graph. So if you click that trend graph, that will actually take you directly into the report, and that is linked directly to the list view in the report, in the Analytics Hub report. So you'll then see every single URL that has given us, in this instance, a 500 status code.
Great. Thank you. And then Matt, maybe I'll come to you lastly. Robots.txt changelog, is that a feature? And also on the XML site maps, as we mentioned in the Tiffany case study.
As a changelog, not currently. It's definitely something that we're considering building at some point. It's not currently a feature at the moment. You can, if you set up alerts on specific sections of, or you could run a sitemap crawl, for example, and set up alerts on that, and you could essentially use the alert notifications center as a changelog for each issue, each specific issue you might be looking for, but as a specific feature in itself, not currently.
Great. Okay, no problem. We have run over slightly, but just in terms of some next steps, our team will reach out to you following on from the webinar to hear your thoughts. In the meantime, if you'd like to know more, then obviously do reach out to us. You'll find some additional content on Monitor Hub on our website. So just go to deepcrawl.com, then use the top navigation for platform and then Monitor Hub. You'll also see a button on there to request a demo as well. You'll also on our website find the blog that we posted just the week before last when we launched Monitor Hub. So there's a bit more information there. And as mentioned, we'll send the recording of the webinar out to you in the next few days. And please do remember to fill in that 1-minute survey at the end. So with that, it just remains for me to thank Matt and Dave for walking us through the content today, and obviously to thank you all for attending the session. So it's a goodbye from us at Deepcrawl, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone.